Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our ANZAC service here at Bankstown RSL Sub-Branch 2021. I'm sure you'd all agree that we'd like to forget about 2020, and we look forward to this sort of thing that happened in 2020 never occurring again. Having said that, I'll now commence. Today's a special day when we remember all those men and women, whether service personnel or civilians, who suffered or continue to suffer because of war. In particular, we remember those who served in the Australian Defence Force on active service from the Boer War to Afghanistan, including those currently serving. We remember those who paid the supreme sacrifice so that we and the people of other nations can live in peace. We remember those who continue to suffer through their physical or mental scars, including those next of kin whose grief and sense of loss can never be eased. This is also a day of thanks and quiet reflection on what a wonderful, lucky nation we live in. It is a time to reflect on Australia's commitment to continue to contribute to peace in other parts of the world. In a perfect world, there would be no wars, no aggression, and no requirement to maintain defence forces. Unfortunately, this is not a perfect world. Where necessary to preserve the peace of our nation or elsewhere in the world, we must be prepared to deploy our forces to fight for and protect the rights of our neighbours as well as our own nation. Some say that this day glorifies war, but every veteran will be the first to tell you that their greatest wish and most fervent prayer is that their children and this nation may never have to witness the horrors of war again. As the ranks of our older veterans continue to diminish, let us be determined to maintain this special day to reflect on our freedom. Let us remember all the young Australians who sacrificed the pleasure of growing old with their families, children and friends, so that we could enjoy these freedoms and enjoy the pleasure of listening to the voices of those we love. We pause today to acknowledge all current and former members of our Defence Forces, the brave men and women who represent our country on a daily basis. No Australian is left untouched when a member of our Defence Force is killed in action. It is difficult to comprehend the grief associated with the loss through war of a parent, spouse, child or sibling. The total Gallipoli casualties on our side, including the French and naval, were 33,000 killed, 78,000 wounded and 8,000 missing. Of these, the Australians made up 8,500 of those killed and more than 19,000 of those wounded. But the shock news of these casualties, far from weakening this country's resolve at that time, actually served to strengthen it. For the recruitment rate increased, and I do not need to explain to you that they were all volunteers. As the news of the casualties began to filter back to Australia, so did the heroism of the ANZACs. From all sources, from the British, amazed at the toughness, the resilience and the tenacity of our hitherto untried soldiers. The way these ANZACs bore the brunt of the fight in the Dardanelles stirred all Australians everywhere a new feeling of camaraderie, a feeling that matched the way in which the rest of the world suddenly began to look at Australia, not just as an offshoot of Britain, but as an independent nation with a very independent character. I would now like to conclude with a brief poem entitled An ANZAC Message from Those Who Never Came Back. In a foreign land, on a lonely shore, in the still of an early dawn, where the day began with pain and death, the name of ANZAC was born. Many have followed the weary trail the brave men of ANZAC have trod, a little white cross to mark each grave, where they are sleeping beneath the sod. We remember them now as they left us, not bent, nor old or grey, but youth at the dawn of manhood as they landed that sad day. They bade no one a last farewell or even said goodbye. Their souls had left before they knew, and God alone knows why. They would not ask for sorrow, they would not ask for tears, but just to be remembered throughout the passing years. Our heritage, so full and free, bought by the blood of good men, in the peace and still of another dawn, we will remember them. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.